The champagne glass shattered before anyone heard the scream, and one didn't see the slap coming. 1 second she was clearing plates from table 7. The next her cheek was on fire, and the entire VIP section of Seoul's most exclusive restaurant had gone silent. Every eye in the room locked on the woman standing over her, dripping in diamonds that cost more than Ji-won would earn in 10 lifetimes. "You clumsy little rat," the woman hissed, her voice like ice cracking. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Ji-won did know. Everyone in Seoul knew. Min Seo Park, wife of the most feared Korean mafia boss in the city. The kind of woman who could make people disappear with a phone call. The kind of woman whose husband's enemies ended up in the Han River wearing concrete shoes. But what Min Seo didn't know, what nobody in that glittering room full of Korea's elite knew, was that the trembling waitress picking herself up off the marble floor had a secret that would turn this New Year's Eve into a bloodbath. Ji-won's hand moved instinctively to the scar hidden beneath her uniform collar. 3 years. She'd waited 3 years for this exact moment. 3 years of swallowing her rage, her grief, her burning need for justice. 3 years of playing invisible, forgettable, harmless. Before you find out what happens next, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. Seoul? New York? Tokyo? We want to know who's watching this unfold. I asked you a question. Min Seo's perfectly manicured hand shot out, gripping Ji-won's chin with bruising force, jerking her face upward. "When I speak to you, you look at me." Their eyes met, and something flickered across Min Seo's flawless face. Something that looked almost like recognition? No. Impossible. Ji-won had been so careful. She'd changed her hair from long and black to short and dyed auburn. She'd lost 20 pounds. She wore colored contacts that turned her brown eyes hazel. She'd even changed her walk, her voice, everything that might connect her to the girl she used to be. The girl whose sister had died 3 years ago in an alley behind this very restaurant. "I'm so sorry, Mrs. Park," Ji-won whispered, letting her voice shake exactly the right amount. "It was an accident." The tray. Accidents have consequences. Min Seo released her chin with a shove that sent Ji-won stumbling backward. "Manager." Mr. Kong appeared instantly, sweating despite the Arctic air conditioning, his hands wringing together. "Yes, Mrs. Park? How can I?" "Fire her. Now. And make sure she never works in this city again." The words hit like physical blows. Ji-won felt panic claw up her throat. Real panic this time, not the performance she'd been giving. She couldn't get fired. Not tonight. Not when she was so close. "Mrs. Park, please," Mr. Kong began, but Min Seo's glacial stare cut him off. "Are you defying me?" "No. No, of course not. Ji-won, you're—" "Wait." A new voice, smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Dante Park strode through the VIP section like he owned it. Which, technically, he did. He owned the restaurant. He owned half the businesses in Gangnam. He owned judges, politicians, and police chiefs. Seoul's most powerful mafia boss, dressed in a suit that cost more than most people's cars, his handsome face unreadable as he approached his wife. Ji-won's entire body went rigid. This wasn't supposed to happen. Dante Park wasn't supposed to be here tonight. Her intelligence said he'd be at his club in Itaewon until at least midnight. But there he was, standing 3 feet away from her, close enough that she could see the thin scar along his jaw. Close enough that he could see her face clearly. Close enough to recognize her. "Darling," Min Seo purred, sliding her arm through her husband's. "This incompetent girl ruined my dress. I was just having her removed. Look at me." Dante's command cut through his wife's words like a knife through silk. Ji-won had no choice. She raised her eyes to meet his. The world seemed to tilt. Because Dante Park was staring at her like he'd seen a ghost. His face had gone pale beneath his tan, his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. His dark eyes she'd memorized from 1,000 surveillance photos, were boring into hers with an intensity that made her skin crawl. He knew. Somehow, impossibly, he knew. "You?" Dante's voice came out rough, strangled. His hand shot out faster than thought, gripping Ji-won's wrist with crushing strength. "Who are you?" "She's nobody," Min Seo snapped, irritation bleeding through her perfect composure. "Just a clumsy waitress." "She's not nobody." Dante's grip tightened until Ji-won gasped. "I know this face." The restaurant had gone so quiet that Ji-won could hear her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to fight, to do something. But she was surrounded by Dante's security, trapped in a room full of Korea's most dangerous people, and the man who'd killed her sister was staring at her like she was a puzzle he was desperately trying to solve. "You're mistaken, darling." Minasio's voice had an edge now, sharp and cold. "You've never seen this girl before." "The sister." Dante's words fell like bombs. "You're the sister." Time stopped. Ji-won watched Minasio's face transform from irritation to shock to something far more dangerous: calculation. Watched as understanding dawned across her beautiful features. Watched as her hand slipped into her designer clutch, where Ji-won knew she kept a pearl-handled pistol. The dead girl's sister? Minasio's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "The one who disappeared 3 years ago." Dante's grip on Ji-won's wrist became painful. "Hyunji's sister. I remember now. You were at the funeral. In the back. Crying. My name is Ji-won." She managed, her voice barely audible. "You're confusing me with." "Don't." Dante jerked her closer, his face inches from hers. "Don't lie to me. I never forget a face. Especially not the face of someone who swore revenge over her sister's grave." The clock on the wall ticked toward 11:50 p.m. 10 minutes until midnight. 10 minutes until the new year. Minasio's hand emerged from her clutch, the pistol glinting in the chandelier light. She didn't point it at Ji-won, not yet. But the threat was clear as crystal. "Well," Minasio said softly, a terrible smile playing on her red lips. "Isn't this an interesting development?" The little mouse walked right into the trap. "Tell me, sweetheart." Her voice dripped poison. "What exactly did you think would happen here tonight?" Ji-won's mind raced through her options. She could try to run. She'd be dead before she reached the door. She could try to fight. There were 12 armed guards in the room. She could try to talk her way out, but they already knew who she was. Or she could do what she'd planned to do all along. "I think," Ji-won said slowly, her voice gaining strength with each word, "that you're both about to learn what happens when you murder an innocent girl and think there won't be consequences." Dante's eyes narrowed. "Is that a threat?" "No." Ji-won smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "It's a promise." "Because in exactly," she glanced at the clock, 9 minutes. "Everyone in this room is going to learn the truth about what you did. About what you both did." Minasio laughed, sharp and cruel. "You're bluffing. You have nothing." "Don't I?" Ji-won's smile widened. "Then why do you look so worried?" For just a fraction of a second, fear flashed across Minasio's perfect face. And that's when the lights went out. What happens when the lights come back on? Will Ji-won survive the next 9 minutes? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment with your prediction, because everything is about to explode. Don't miss it. Screams erupted in the darkness. Ji-won moved on pure instinct, twisting out of Dante's grip the second the blackness swallowed the room. She'd memorized every inch of this restaurant over 3 years. Every table, every exit, every shadow she could disappear into. She dropped low, rolled left, and came up running just as gunfire shattered the chaos. The muzzle flash illuminated the room in strobing bursts of horror. Minasio's security had opened fire, shooting blind into the darkness, not caring who they hit. Crystal shattered. Someone screamed. Bodies hit the floor. Ji-won's lungs burned as she sprinted through the maze of tables, her hands finding the wall she knew would lead to the kitchen. 3 years of planning couldn't end like this. Not in the dark. Not before they knew why. The emergency generators kicked in, flooding the restaurant with harsh red light. "There!" Dante's voice cut through the pandemonium. "The kitchen. Lock it down now." Ji-won burst through the kitchen doors, her heart hammering against her ribs. The kitchen staff had already fled through the back exit, exactly as she'd paid them to do. She slammed the industrial lock into place just as something heavy crashed against the door. "Open this door." Minasio's voice, shrill with rage. "Open it, or I'll burn this whole building down with you in it." Ji-won didn't answer. She was already moving, pulling the phone from where she'd hidden it taped beneath the prep counter. Her hands shook as she opened the video file, the one she'd spent 3 years tracking down, the one that cost her everything she had left, the one that would destroy them both. Drop a comment right now. Do you think Ji-won will make it out alive? And hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. Another crash against the door. The frame splintered. Last chance. Dante's voice now, cold and controlled. "Come out, and we'll make it quick. Stay in there." And what we did to your sister will look merciful. Her sister, Hyunji. The grief hit Ji-won like it always did, sudden, crushing, a wave that threatened to pull her under. But she'd learned to surf that wave, to ride it into something sharper, something deadlier. Rage. She remembered the day she'd found Hyunji's body. The way her beautiful sister had been dumped in that alley like garbage, her throat slit, her eyes still open and staring at nothing. The police had called it gang violence. Case closed. Another dead girl in a city that produced them like factory products. But Ji-won had known better. Because 2 days before she died, Hyunji had called her, terrified, whispering about something she'd seen. Something involving Dante Park and his wife. Something that would bring down their whole empire if it got out. Hyunji never got the chance to tell her what it was. But Ji-won had spent 3 years finding out. The door exploded inward in a shower of splinters. Four guards rushed in, guns drawn, scanning the kitchen with tactical precision. Behind them, Min Se-yo stepped through like a queen entering her throne room, not a hair out of place despite the chaos. Where is she? Min Se-yo demanded. She's here somewhere, one guard muttered, checking behind the industrial stoves. There's no other way out. Then find her, and bring her to me alive. Min Se-yo's smile was pure venom. I want to know what she thinks she has on us before I carve her face off. Ji-won watched from her hiding spot in the walk-in freezer, the cold biting through her uniform, her breath coming in small, controlled puffs that wouldn't fog the air. Through the small window in the freezer door, she could see Min Se-yo pacing, agitated in a way Ji-won had never seen before. Good. Let her be afraid. This doesn't make sense, Min Se-yo was saying, more to herself than the guards. That girl was nobody. A student. Why would Dante kill her? What could she possibly have seen? One of the guards cleared his throat. Mrs. Park, perhaps we should call Mr. Park. Don't. Min Se-yo whirled on him. My husband doesn't need to know about this. Not yet. Interesting. Very interesting. But ma'am, he's right outside. I said no. Min Se-yo's hand tightened on her pistol. Find the girl. Now. Before Dante comes in here asking questions I can't answer. Ji-won's mind raced. Min Se-yo didn't want Dante involved, which meant there was something she didn't want him to know. Something about Hyunji's death that even the man who'd killed her wasn't aware of. The pieces were starting to come together, and the picture they formed made Ji-won's blood run cold. What if Dante hadn't ordered the hit? What if Min Se-yo had? A guard yanked open the freezer door so fast Ji-won barely had time to roll behind a rack of hanging meat. The cold air rushed out in a visible cloud, and the guard stepped inside, his breath fogging, his gun sweeping the confined space. Ji-won held perfectly still, her body pressed against the frozen metal wall, the carcasses swaying slightly between her and the guard. One move, one sound, one breath too loud, and it was over. The guard's radio crackled. Anything. Negative. Freezer's clear. He turned to leave. Ji-won's phone vibrated in her pocket. The sound was barely audible, just a soft buzz against fabric. But in the dead silence of the freezer, it might as well have been a gunshot. The guard froze. Turned. Their eyes met through the gap in the hanging meat. She's in the... Ji-won launched herself forward, slamming her full weight into the meat rack. It toppled into the guard, 200 pounds of frozen beef driving him backward. He went down hard, his head cracking against the metal floor with a sickening thud. She didn't wait to see if he'd get up. She was already moving, sprinting out of the freezer, heading for the back exit she'd left unlocked 3 hours ago. There! Min Se-yo's scream echoed off the stainless steel. Stop her! Gunfire erupted. Bullets sparked off metal. Ji-won felt one whistle past her ear, so close it burned. She threw herself through the exit door and into the alley, and ran straight into Dante Park. He caught her by the throat, lifting her off her feet with one hand, slamming her back against the brick wall hard enough to knock the air from her lungs. His face was inches from hers, twisted with an emotion she couldn't quite read. 3 years, he growled. 3 years you've been planning this. Working in my restaurant. Watching. Waiting. What's your endgame, little mouse? Ji-won clawed at his hand, gasping for air. Black spots danced at the edges of her vision. The truth, she choked out. I want the truth. The truth. Dante laughed, but there was no humor in it. The truth is your sister saw something she shouldn't have. The truth is she signed her own death warrant. The truth is you should have stayed disappeared. The truth, Ji-won gasped, her vision tunneling. Is that your wife? Ordered the hit. Not you. Dante's grip loosened just a fraction. What? Your wife. Ji-won sucked in precious air. She killed Hyunji. And she's been letting you think it was your order all along. She's lying. Min Seo burst through the exit, her gun raised, aimed directly at Ji-won's head. But her eyes were on her husband, wide with something that looked almost like panic. Dante, she's lying. Don't listen to her. I would never. Then why? Ji-won interrupted, her voice stronger now despite Dante's hand still at her throat. Did you just tell your guards you didn't want your husband knowing about this? Why do you want me dead before I can talk to him? The alley went very, very quiet. Dante's eyes moved from Ji-won to his wife. Min Seo. She's manipulating you, Min Seo said quickly. It's what she does. She's been planning this for years. She's trying to turn us against each other. Show him the video, Ji-won interrupted. The one from 3 years ago. The one your wife has been trying to bury. The one Hyunji died for. Dante's grip tightened again. What video? Ji-won smiled through the pain. The one that proves your wife has been stealing from you. Millions. And Hyunji caught her on camera. Min Seo's gun didn't waver, but her face had gone pale. That's impossible. I destroyed. She stopped. Too late. The admission hung in the air like smoke. Dante released Ji-won's throat. She collapsed against the wall, coughing, as he turned slowly to face his wife. You destroyed what exactly? His voice was deadly calm. Dante, I can explain. The gun, Min Seo. Put it down. You don't understand. Put it down. For a moment, Ji-won thought Min Seo would shoot them both. Her finger tightened on the trigger, her beautiful face twisting into something ugly and desperate. Then sirens cut through the night. Multiple sirens, getting closer. Min Seo's eyes widened. What did you do? Ji-won pushed herself upright, her smile sharp as broken glass. I called the police. 20 minutes ago. Before the lights went out. They should be here right about. Police cars screeched into the alley, surrounding them, lights blazing red and blue. Now, who's going to jail? Who's going to die? Hit that subscribe button and comment your prediction. This is where everything you think you know gets turned upside down. The police officers poured out of their vehicles like ants from a disturbed nest, guns drawn, shouting commands that overlapped into incomprehensible noise. Ji-won raised her hands slowly, carefully, keeping her movements visible. Dante stood frozen, his face unreadable. Min Seo's gun hand trembled. Drop your weapon. The lead officer's voice cut through the chaos. Now, Min Seo didn't move. Her eyes darted between the police, her husband, and Ji-won, calculating, desperate, trapped. Min Seo. Dante's voice was soft, almost gentle. Put it down. You don't understand what she's done, Min Seo whispered. What she's trying to do to us. To our family. Drop the weapon or we will open fire. The gun clattered to the pavement. Officers swarmed forward, but before they could reach Min Seo, Dante stepped between them and his wife. There's been a misunderstanding, officers. My wife was defending herself against an intruder. An intruder? Ji-won's laugh was bitter. I work here. I've worked here for 3 years. Silence. The lead officer, Captain Cho, according to his badge, gestured for his team to secure the scene. Nobody moves. Nobody speaks. We received a call about shots fired, assault, and he paused, his eyes finding Ji-won. Information regarding an unsolved homicide from 3 years ago. Ji-won's heart hammered. This was it. The moment she'd orchestrated. The moment that would either give her justice or get her killed. Captain Cho. Dante's voice shifted, taking on the smooth, commanding tone of a man used to buying his way out of problems. I'm sure we can clear this up at the station. My lawyer. Your lawyer can meet us there, Mr. Park. Captain Cho's expression was stone. Along with you, your wife, and, he nodded at Ji-won, this young woman. All of you are coming in for questioning. On what grounds? Min Seo had recovered her composure, her chin lifting with aristocratic disdain. We've done nothing wrong. Then you have nothing to worry about. Captain Cho's smile didn't reach his eyes. Unless, of course, there's something you'd like to tell me about the death of Park Hyunji, found in this very alley. 3 years ago tonight. The blood drained from Min Seo's face. Dante's head whipped toward his wife. Tonight? Hyunji died tonight. 3 years ago on New Year's Eve. You didn't know? Ji-won's voice was sharp as glass. Your wife never told you that my sister died on New Year's Eve? Right here, behind your restaurant, while you were inside celebrating? That's... Dante's voice faltered. I was told it happened on January 3rd. That the body was found. The body was found on January 3rd. Captain Cho interrupted. But the coroner's report estimated time of death as December 31st, between 11 p.m. and midnight. The timeline was unclear. Until now. Ji-won watched the realization dawn on Dante's face. Watched him turn to his wife. His expression transforming from confusion to something darker. Min Seo, where were you when Hyunji died? I was with you. No. Dante's voice went cold. No, you weren't. You disappeared around 11. Said you had to take a call. You were gone for... He stopped, his jaw clenching. 20 minutes. Maybe 30. Drop a comment. Do you think Min Seo is guilty? Hit subscribe because you won't believe what gets revealed next. This is insane, Min Seo hissed. You're going to believe this stranger over your own wife? Over the woman who stood by you for 10 years. Show me the video. Dante's command was directed at Ji-won, but his eyes never left his wife's face. The one you mentioned. Show me now. Ji-won reached slowly for her phone, hyper-aware of the dozen guns trained on her. It's uploaded to a secure server. If anything happens to me, it automatically sends to every news outlet in Seoul, to the FBI, to Interpol, to every law enforcement agency that wants to take you down. Smart girl, Captain Cho murmured. But I can show you a preview. Ji-won's fingers trembled as she pulled up the file. The full video is 43 minutes long. This is just the highlights. She turned the phone so everyone could see. The video was grainy, shot from a hidden camera, but the image was clear enough. Min Seo, 3 years younger but unmistakable, standing in this very alley, talking to someone off camera. Hyunji's voice, scared and pleading. Mrs. Park, please, I won't tell anyone. I'll delete the files. I swear. You should have thought of that before you started spying on me. Min Seo's voice on the video was ice cold. Before you discovered my private accounts. Before you became a liability. I wasn't spying. I was just doing inventory in your husband's office, and I saw. You saw too much. The sound of a blade being drawn. Hyunji's scream, cut short. The video went dark. The alley was silent except for the distant sounds of the city celebrating the countdown to midnight. In the present, that same countdown was happening, 7 minutes away. Dante looked like he'd been carved from stone. You killed her. You actually, his voice broke. I covered for you. When the police came asking questions, I used my contacts to bury the investigation because I thought I had ordered it. You let me believe. You would have done the same thing. Min Seo's composure shattered like glass. She found the accounts, Dante. The ones I set up. The money I'd been moving. If she'd talked, if she'd shown anyone those files, we would have lost everything. You would have lost everything. Dante corrected, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Those were your accounts. Your embezzlement. Your crime. Our crime. Min Seo shrieked. I used that money to expand your empire. To buy the properties you wanted. To pay off the officials you needed. Everything I did was for us. You're under arrest. Captain Cho stepped forward. Min Seo Park, you're charged with the murder of Park Hyunji. Min Seo moved faster than anyone expected. She dropped, grabbed the gun from the pavement, and before anyone could react, she had it pressed against Ji-won's temple. Nobody moved. Min Seo's voice was ragged, desperate. Nobody moves, or I paint this alley with her brain. Officers shouted, guns raised, but nobody fired. Too risky. Too close. Min Seo, don't. Dante took a step forward. This is over. Don't make it worse. Worse. Min Seo laughed, high and broken. It's already worse, husband. The moment this little bitch showed up, it was already over. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to walk to that car. She jerked her head toward Dante's black Mercedes at the end of the alley, and she's coming with me. Anyone follows, anyone tries to stop me, and she dies. Understood. You won't make it out of the city, Captain Cho said. Watch me. Min Seo began backing toward the car, dragging Ji-won with her, the gun never wavering from her skull. I have money in accounts you'll never find. Contacts in countries with no extradition. I'll disappear, and you'll never. Let her go, Min Seo. A new voice, soft and cultured, speaking Korean with a slight American accent. Everyone turned. A woman stepped into the alley from the street side, tall, elegant, wearing a business suit that screamed money and power. Her hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her eyes hidden behind designer glasses. She looked like a corporate lawyer or a diplomat. She looked nothing like a threat, until she smiled. "Hello, sister," the woman said, still in Korean. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out what you did?" Min Seo's face went white as death. "No, you're supposed to be in London. You can't be here. And yet, here I am." The woman's smile widened, sharp as a knife. "Surprise. Who the hell are you?" Dante demanded. The woman's eyes flicked to him, amused. "I'm Park Soo-jin, Min Seo's older sister. The one she tried to have killed 6 months ago." She turned back to Min Seo. "The hit failed, by the way. Your assassin was sloppy. But it did make me curious about what my dear little sister was hiding. Curious enough to hire investigators. Curious enough to trace embezzled funds. Curious enough to discover a murdered girl and a cover-up." Ji-won felt Min Seo's grip loosen just slightly, her attention divided. "And curious enough," Soo-jin continued, pulling something from her jacket, "to find the original files that Hyun-ji copied before she died. The ones showing not just embezzlement, but money laundering, human trafficking payments, and," she held up a USB drive, "evidence that my sister has been running her own criminal enterprise behind her husband's back for 5 years." "That's impossible," Min Seo breathed. "I destroyed those files." "You destroyed Hyunji's copies. You didn't know she'd already uploaded them to a cloud server with a dead man's switch. If she didn't log in every 72 hours, the files would be sent to a trusted contact." Soo-jin's smile turned vicious. The gun trembled against Ji-won's head. "You're lying," Min Seo whispered. "Am I?" Soo-jin held up her phone. "Captain Cho, check your email. I just sent you everything. Bank records, communications, video evidence of at least 4 murders Min Seo ordered, including her failed attempt on my life." Captain Cho's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression hardened. "Officers, prepare to." Min Seo's scream cut through the night. "You ruined everything. All of you. I built this. I made us powerful. And you," the gun swung from Ji-won to Soo-jin, "you always had to be better. Always had to be the perfect daughter. Well, I'm done being second place." The gun fired. But not at Soo-jin. Min Seo had turned it on Dante, her face twisted with rage and betrayal, and something that might have been love gone rancid. The bullet caught him in the shoulder, spinning him backward. Chaos erupted. Officers fired. Min Seo screamed. Ji-won threw herself sideways, hitting the pavement hard. When the gunfire stopped, Min Seo was on the ground, bleeding from multiple wounds but still alive, still breathing. Dante was being attended to by paramedics, his face gray with shock and pain. Soo-jin stood untouched, her expression sad. And Ji-won lay on the cold pavement, staring at the sky, listening to fireworks explode overhead. Midnight. New Year's Day. "It's over," Captain Cho said gently, helping her to her feet. "It's finally over." But Ji-won wasn't looking at him. She was looking at Min Seo, being loaded into an ambulance in handcuffs. Min Seo's eyes found hers through the chaos, and even bleeding, even defeated, she smiled. Mouthed 2 words, "Not yet." Then the ambulance doors slammed shut. What does Min Seo mean by not yet? What else is she hiding? Smash that subscribe button and comment your theory, because this story is about to take a turn nobody saw coming. The police station smelled like burned coffee and desperation. Ji-won sat in the interrogation room, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, watching Captain Cho pace back and forth like a caged tiger. 3 hours had passed since midnight. 3 hours since Min Seo had been taken into custody, since Dante had been rushed into surgery, since everything Ji-won had planned for 3 years had finally come together. So why did she feel like she was standing on the edge of a cliff? "Walk me through it again," Captain Cho said, not for the first time. "Everything that happened tonight. I already told you. Tell me again." His eyes were sharp, assessing. "Because something's not adding up." Ji-won's exhaustion made her irritable. "What's not adding up? You have the video. You have Soo-jin's evidence. You have Min Seo's confession on tape. What I have," Captain Cho interrupted, "is a woman who shot her husband in front of a dozen witnesses and is now sitting in a hospital bed under armed guard, smiling like she just won the lottery. That doesn't strike you as odd?" "It did. God, it did." "Maybe she's in shock," Ji-won offered weakly. "Maybe." Captain Cho didn't sound convinced. "Or maybe she knows something we don't." Something that makes her think she's going to walk out of this. A knock on the door interrupted them. A young officer stuck his head in, his face pale. "Captain, you need to see this. Now." The urgency in his voice made Ji-won's stomach drop. Captain Cho followed him out, leaving Ji-won alone in the interrogation room. She stared at her reflection in the two-way mirror, seeing a stranger stare back, hollow-eyed, bruised, her sister's face superimposed over her own in her mind's eye. "I did it, Hyunji," she thought. "I got her. I got justice for you." But it felt hollow, incomplete. The door burst open. Captain Cho's face was ashen. "We have a problem. A big one." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where Min Seo Park just made bail." Ji-won shot to her feet, the blanket falling to the floor. "That's impossible. She's charged with murder, attempted murder, embezzlement. And she has the best lawyers in Seoul, apparently unlimited resources, and a judge who just signed off on a 50 million won bail." Captain Cho's jaw clenched. "She walks out in 20 minutes. "No." Ji-won's voice came out strangled. "No, you can't let her. She'll run. She'll disappear. She said she had contacts. We know. We're putting her under surveillance. She won't be able to sneeze without us knowing about it." But Captain Cho didn't look confident. "There's something else." Dante Park checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. 15 minutes ago. "We have no idea where he is." The world tilted. "He what?" Bullet went clean through his shoulder, no major damage. "He's mobile, angry, and potentially dangerous." Captain Cho fixed her with a hard stare. "Ms. Park, Ji-won, I need you to tell me the truth. Is there anything else? Anything you're not telling me about tonight?" Ji-won opened her mouth to say no, to insist she'd told him everything. But Min Seo's words echoed in her mind. "Not yet." "The video," Ji-won said slowly. "The one Hyunji recorded. How much of it have you watched?" "We reviewed the section you showed us in the alley." "The murder?" "What?" "Because it's 43 minutes long." "What if?" Ji-won's hands started shaking. "What if there's more on it? Something else Hyunji recorded before Min Seo killed her?" Captain Cho's eyes widened. "Where's the full video?" "On a secure server. I can access it, but I need a computer. Come with me." Now. They rushed through the police station, officers staring as they passed. Captain Cho led her to a computer terminal, logged in with shaking hands. Ji-won pulled up the server, entered her passwords, and opened the full video file. The first 20 minutes were surveillance footage of Min Seo's office. Boring, routine, just her working at her computer. Then Min Seo left, and Hyunji entered the frame. Clearly nervous, pulling a flash drive from her pocket and inserting it into Min Seo's computer. She was copying files, Captain Cho murmured. But Ji-won's attention was fixed on what happened next. Hyunji finished copying, pocketed the flash drive, turned to leave, and froze. Someone else had entered the office. The camera angle only caught their back, but Ji-won could see Hyunji's face go white with terror. "Please," Hyunji's voice on the recording, barely a whisper. "I didn't see anything. I won't tell. You've already seen too much." The voice was male, cultured, familiar. Dante's voice. "Oh God," Captain Cho breathed. The figure turned slightly, just enough for the camera to catch his profile. It wasn't Dante. It was someone who looked almost exactly like him. Same build, same height, same sharp features. But younger. And when he smiled, it was a smile Ji-won had seen before, in photographs, in news articles about the Park family empire. Who is this mystery man? Drop a comment with your guess and hit that subscribe button, because what happens next will shock you. "That's Park Jae-sung," Captain Cho said, his voice tight. "Dante's younger brother. He's supposed to be in New York running their American operations." On the video, Jae-sung moved closer to Hyunji. "My sister-in-law is careless. Sloppy. She leaves evidence lying around like breadcrumbs. Did you enjoy what you found?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The accounts. The embezzlement. The money she's been siphoning from my brother's business." Jae-sung's laugh was cold. "Did you really think she was smart enough to hide that on her own? To build her little side empire without help?" Hyunji's eyes widened with understanding. You've been helping her. More than helping. I've been running it. Min Seo is just the pretty face, the distraction. While everyone watches her, I've been building something beautiful. Something that will eclipse everything my brother has built. Why are you telling me this? Because you're not going to live long enough to repeat it. Jae-sung pulled out a phone. "Min Seo, we have a problem. Your little spy knows everything. Yes. The alley. 10 minutes. He ended the call and smiled at Hyunji's terrified face. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to meet my sister-in-law in the alley. She's going to kill you, and she's going to think it was her idea. She'll dispose of the body, cover it up, and my brother will help her because he'll believe he ordered the hit through his usual channels. He'll never know I was involved. Min Seo will never know I set her up to take the fall when the time comes. You're insane, Hyunji whispered. I'm practical. My brother is weak. Emotional. He could never do what needs to be done to truly dominate this city. But I can. And I will. Jae-sung grabbed Hyunji's arm. Now move. And if you try to run, I'll kill your sister too. Park Ji-won, isn't it? Third-year university student? Lives alone in Hongdae. It would be so easy to make her disappear. The video continued, but Ji-won couldn't watch anymore. Her vision had gone white at the edges, rage and horror churning in her stomach. He played them, she said, her voice hollow. Jae-sung played them all. He helped Min Seo steal from Dante, knowing it would eventually be discovered. He sent Hyunji to her death and made sure Min Seo would take the blame. He's been orchestrating everything from the beginning. And now Min Seo is about to walk out of custody, Captain Cho said grimly. If she finds out Jae-sung betrayed her, she already knows. The realization hit Ji-won like a freight train. That's why she was smiling. She figured it out. And she's going to go after him. Captain Cho grabbed his radio. All units, we need eyes on Park Jae-sung immediately. Consider him armed and dangerous. His radio crackled. Captain, we have a situation. The hospital just called. Dante Park's room was broken into. Someone left a message written on his wall in blood. What did it say? A pause. Then, it says, Happy New Year, brother. Time to pay what you owe. It's signed with Jae-sung's name. Ji-won's blood ran cold. It's not Jae-sung. It's Min Seo. She's setting him up the same way he set her up. This is escalating fast, Captain Cho muttered. We need to find them before. His phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went gray. We're on our way. What is it? Fire at the Park family estate in Gangnam. Multiple explosions. Firefighters are calling it arson. Captain Cho's eyes met hers. Someone's burning it to the ground. We have to go. Ji-won was already moving toward the door. If Jae-sung and Min Seo are both there, you're a civilian. You're staying here. Like hell I am. Ji-won whirled on him. My sister died because of their games. I'm not sitting this out. For a moment, Captain Cho looked like he would argue. Then he sighed. Stay behind me. Stay quiet. And if I tell you to run, you run. Understood. They ran. The drive to Gangnam took 15 minutes that felt like 15 hours. Ji-won could see the smoke from blocks away, a black pillar rising against the pre-dawn sky. Fire trucks surrounded the estate, their hoses barely making a dent in the inferno. The main house is fully engulfed, a fire chief reported. We're trying to keep it from spreading to the neighboring properties. Was anyone inside? Captain Cho demanded. We don't know yet. We can't get close enough. A gunshot rang out from somewhere inside the burning building. Then another. Then a scream that cut through the roar of flames. High. Agonized. Barely human. Nobody goes in, the fire chief shouted. The structure's not stable. But Ji-won was already running, dodging past police barriers, heading for a side entrance that wasn't fully engulfed. She could hear Captain Cho shouting behind her, but she didn't stop. Hyunji had died alone, afraid, in the dark. Whatever was happening inside that house, whoever was killing whom, Ji-won needed to see it. Needed to witness the end of the people who destroyed her life. The heat hit her like a wall as she burst through the door. Smoke immediately burned her lungs. She pulled her shirt over her mouth, staying low, following the sound of voices toward what must have been a study or office. The door was ajar. Through the gap, Ji-won could see them. Min Seo, her hospital gown soaked with blood, her own or someone else's, Ji-won couldn't tell. She had a gun trained on someone kneeling on the floor. Jae-sung, his expensive suit torn and burned, his face a mask of blood and rage. And standing between them, looking like death itself, was Dante Park. His shoulder wound had reopened, blood soaking through his shirt, but the gun in his hand was steady. Hello, brother, Dante said softly. Imagine my surprise when I checked my wife's phone and found text messages. Years of messages. Planning. Scheming. Stealing from me. His gun moved to Min Seo. And hello, wife. Imagine my surprise when I realized you weren't the mastermind at all. Just another puppet. Dante, Min Seo began. I can explain. Explain how you fell in love with my brother? Explain how you two have been bleeding my empire dry? Explain how you let me think I'd ordered a girl's death to protect you, when really you were protecting him? Dante's laugh was broken glass. Please, enlighten me. Jae-sung spat blood. You were always too soft, brother. Too sentimental. You could have owned this city, but you wanted to be liked. To be respected. He sneered. I'm going to take everything you built and make it into something magnificent. You're not going to do anything. Dante cocked the gun. Except die. If you kill him, Min Seo said quickly, desperately, you'll never find the money. Billions, Dante. Hidden in accounts only he can access. Kill him, and it's gone forever. I don't care about the money. Then what do you care about? Min Seo's voice cracked. Revenge? Justice? That won't bring back. The ceiling groaned. Beams cracked. The fire was eating the house from the inside out. I care, Dante said quietly, about making sure you both suffer the way that girl suffered. The way her sister has suffered. His eyes found Ji-won standing in the doorway. Hello, Ji-won. Come to watch the show. 3 guns. 3 people who destroyed her life. And a building burning down around them all. Ji-won stepped into the room and smiled. Actually, she said, I came to make sure you all burned together. She pulled out a detonator she'd been hiding in her pocket since the alley. The one connected to the additional explosives she'd planted in this very room 3 weeks ago. Just in case. Will G1 detonate the explosives? Who will survive the inferno? Hit subscribe and comment now, because the next revelation will change everything you thought you knew. The room froze. 3 guns. 3 guilty parties. 1 detonator. And G1, standing in the doorway with her thumb on the button, felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Power. Put it down, Dante said, his voice carefully controlled, but Ji-won could see the fear flickering in his eyes. Whatever you think you're going to accomplish, I'm going to accomplish exactly what I set out to do 3 years ago. Ji-won's voice was steady, cold. I'm going to make sure every single person responsible for my sister's death pays with their life. We can work something out, Jae-sung said quickly, his usual arrogance cracking. Money. Protection. Whatever you want. I want my sister back. The words came out raw, broken. I want to undo the moment she walked into that office and saw something she shouldn't have. I want to erase the night she died alone in an alley while you people toasted the new year. Ji-won's finger tightened on the button. Since I can't have that, I'll settle for watching you all burn. Then you'll die too, Min Seo pointed out, her gun never wavering even as her eyes darted toward the exits. The fire was spreading, eating through the walls, the smoke getting thicker by the second. You'll die right alongside us. I know, Ji-won smiled, and it was the smile of someone who'd already made peace with death. I've been dead for 3 years anyway, since the moment I found Hyunji's body. This is just making it official. A beam crashed down behind her, sending up a shower of sparks. The heat was becoming unbearable. Ji-won. Dante lowered his gun slowly. Your sister wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want you to throw your life away. Don't you dare. Ji-won's voice cracked like a whip. Don't you dare tell me what my sister would want. You didn't know her. You didn't know how brilliant she was, how kind, how she wanted to be a teacher and help kids who came from nothing like we did. You didn't know that she sang off-key and couldn't cook to save her life and cried at sad commercials. Tears streamed down Ji-won's face, mixing with the soot and smoke. You knew her for 5 minutes before you decided she was a problem that needed to be eliminated. So don't you dare pretend you care what she would have wanted. The room went silent except for the roar of flames. You're right, Dante said finally. I didn't know her. I didn't even order her death. I know that now. But I covered it up. I buried the investigation. I used my power to make sure her murder never got solved. He dropped his gun to the floor. So if you want to push that button, I won't stop you. I deserve whatever happens. Dante, what are you doing? Min Seo shrieked. She's bluffing. She won't actually. I'm not bluffing. Ji-won held up the detonator so they could all see it clearly. This is C4. Military grade. Enough to bring down this entire wing of the house. I planted it 3 weeks ago when I pretended to cater a private party here. I've been planning this ending since the beginning. Jae-sung laughed, high and slightly hysterical. You're insane. You're actually insane. No. Ji-won's voice was eerily calm. I'm just done. Done pretending to be okay. Done living in a world where people like you get away with murder. Done being the victim. Another beam fell, closer this time. The fire was a living thing now, consuming everything in its path. If we're all going to die anyway, Minacio said, her composure finally shattering, then you might as well know the truth. The whole truth. Minacio, shut up, Jae-sung started, but she talked over him. Your sister didn't just stumble onto evidence of embezzlement. Minacio's laugh was bitter. She was planted. By Soo-jin. The world tilted. What? Ji-won's voice came out as barely a whisper. My dear sister, who showed up so conveniently tonight with all that evidence. Minacio's smile was vicious despite the blood running down her face. She's been playing a long game. Years long. She wanted to destroy me, destroy Dante, take over the entire Park Empire. So she found a desperate university student, your sister, and offered her money to infiltrate my office as a cleaning staff member. To find evidence. To record everything. You're lying, Ji-won said, but her hand trembled. Am I? How do you think Hyunji got hired here in the first place? She had no experience, no connections. But suddenly she had a job in the most exclusive restaurant in Seoul? That was Soo-jin's doing. She arranged everything. Ji-won's mind raced back. Remembered Hyunji coming home excited about the job. I don't know how it happened, Ji-won. They just called me and said I got it. She'd been so happy. So proud. Soo-jin gave her the camera. Min Seo continued relentlessly. Told her where to plant it. Told her what to look for. Your sister thought she was doing investigative journalism, exposing corruption. She had no idea she was a pawn in a family war. But you still killed her, Ji-won said through gritted teeth. Whether Soo-jin planted her or not, you slit her throat and dumped her body. I didn't. Min Seo's voice dropped. I was going to. I met her in that alley, fully intending to. But someone got there first. The smoke was so thick now that Ji-won could barely see them. Who? Min Seo's eyes moved to Jae-sung. He laughed, and there was madness in it. She's lying. She's desperate and lying. He killed her before I could, Min Seo said flatly. I arrived and she was already dead. Jae-sung was standing over her body, wiping the blade. He looked up at me and said, You're welcome. Now you owe me. That's when he had leverage over you. Dante said slowly, the pieces clicking together. He could expose you for being at the murder scene. So you had no choice but to work with him. And I thought I'd ordered it. Dante continued, his voice hollow. So I helped cover it up. We all had blood on our hands, even if. He stopped. Looked at Ji-won. I'm so sorry. For all of it. Who actually killed Hyunji? Is anyone telling the truth? Smash that subscribe button and drop a comment with your theory. Ji-won's world was spinning. Everything she thought she knew, everyone she thought was guilty. It was all more complicated, more twisted than she'd ever imagined. Soo-jin used my sister. Her voice was numb. Set her up to die. And then used you, Min Seo added. Don't you see? She gave you just enough information to come after us. To destroy us. She's probably outside right now, waiting for us all to kill each other or burn to death, so she can swoop in and take control of everything without any opposition. The detonator suddenly felt impossibly heavy in Ji-won's hand. I don't believe you, she said, but even she could hear the doubt in her voice. Then ask yourself this, Dante said. How did Soo-jin have access to files that Hyunji supposedly uploaded? How did she know they existed? Why did she wait 3 years to use them? He took a step closer, ignoring Min Seo's gun. Because she's been waiting. Watching. Building her case. Waiting for the perfect moment to destroy all of us. A phone buzzed. Min Seo pulled hers out with her free hand, glanced at it, and laughed. A sound devoid of any humor. Speak of the devil. She held up the screen so they could all see. Text from Soo-jin. Hope you're staying warm, little sister. The fire department says the main house is about to collapse. What a tragedy. Happy New Year. She knows we're in here, Jae-sung said. She probably arranged the fire. She's tying up all her loose ends tonight. Captain Cho's voice suddenly crackled through Ji-won's pocket. Her phone, still connected to emergency services. Ji-won. Ji-won, if you can hear me, get out now. The structure is failing. You have maybe 2 minutes before the whole thing comes down. 2 minutes. Ji-won looked at the 3 people who destroyed her life, directly or indirectly, intentionally or through negligence. Looked at the detonator in her hand. looked at the flames consuming everything around them. I could kill us all right now, she said quietly. End it. No more lies, no more games. Just justice. That's not justice, Dante said. That's revenge. And it won't bring Hyunji back. Nothing will bring her back. Ji-won screamed. Don't you understand? Nothing I do will ever bring her back. So what's the point? What's the point of anything? The point, a new voice said from behind her, making Ji-won spin around, is that your sister died trying to expose the truth. She deserves for that truth to actually come out. Soo-jin stood in the doorway, perfectly composed despite the inferno, wearing a gas mask. She held a gun, but it wasn't pointed at Ji-won, it was pointed at the others. Hello, family, she said pleasantly. Miss me? She pulled off the gas mask, and Ji-won finally saw her face clearly. Saw the scar along her jaw, the slight asymmetry to her features, the cold calculation in her eyes, and saw, with creeping horror, that she'd seen that face before. In a photo, in Hyunji's things. A photo her sister had taken secretly, showing two women meeting in a cafe. One was Soo-jin, the other was their mother. Their mother, who died in a hit-and-run 6 months before Hyunji was murdered. Their mother, whose death Ji-won had always suspected wasn't an accident. You, Ji-won whispered. You killed our mother. Soo-jin's smile was gentle, almost sympathetic. I did. She figured out what I was planning. Tried to warn Hyunji to back out. Couldn't have that. She tilted her head. You were always the smart one, Ji-won. Smarter than your sister, honestly. She was too trusting, too naive. But you're a survivor, which is why I'm going to make you an offer. The ceiling groaned ominously. Join me. Help me finish this. We kill them. We take everything they built, and we split it 50-50. You get justice for your family. I get the empire I deserve. Everyone wins. Everyone except the people you murdered, Ji-won said. Collateral damage. Soo-jin shrugged. Your mother was going to ruin everything. Your sister already knew too much. They were in the way. Just like these three are in the way now. Her gun never wavered. So what do you say? Partners. The room was an oven. The smoke was choking. The ceiling was literally falling in around them. And Ji-won had to make a choice. Trust the woman who'd orchestrated her family's destruction but was offering her everything she'd wanted. Or trust the people who'd covered up her sister's murder but might be telling the truth about being pawns themselves. Or push the button and kill them all, herself included, and let God sort it out. She had 30 seconds to decide before the building collapsed and made the choice for her. The detonator felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Soo-jin's gun gleamed in the firelight. And somewhere in the distance, Ji-won thought she heard her sister's voice, singing off-key, the way she used to when she was happy. 10 seconds. Captain Cho's voice screamed through her phone. Get out now. Ji-won closed her eyes. Made her choice. And threw the detonator as hard as she could, directly at Soo-jin's head. The explosion, when it came, swallowed everything in white light and thunder. Did Ji-won just kill everyone including herself? Who will survive the blast? Subscribe now and comment your prediction. The next twist will leave you speechless. Ji-won opened her eyes to darkness and the taste of blood. For a moment, she thought she was dead. This was what death felt like. Heavy, silent, crushing weight pressing down on every inch of her body. But dead people didn't feel pain, and Ji-won hurt everywhere. Her ribs screamed with each shallow breath. Something warm trickled down the side of her face. Her left arm was pinned beneath something that might have been a beam. Then she heard the coughing. Someone else was alive in the rubble. Hello. Her voice came out as a rasp, barely audible even to herself. Is anyone here? Dante's voice, weak but present. I'm here. Can't move. Something's on my legs. Minesio. Ji-won called. Jae-sung. Silence. Then a groan from somewhere to her right. Jae-sung's dead. Minesio's voice, thick with pain. Beam went through his chest. He's right next to me. His eyes are still open. The detonator. Ji-won had thrown it at Soo-jin, but before it could hit, the ceiling had collapsed. The explosion she'd feared never came. The detonator must have been destroyed in the collapse, or the receiver damaged, or... Where's Soo-jin? Dante asked. I don't know. I can't see anything. Ji-won tried to move, gasped as fresh pain lanced through her ribs. Broken. Definitely broken. We need to get out. The fire. The fire's mostly out, Minesio interrupted. Ceiling collapse smothered it. But we're buried. Nobody's getting out without help. As if summoned by her words, Ji-won heard voices from above. Muffled, distant, but getting closer. Rescue workers. They were digging. Down here. Ji-won screamed, then immediately regretted it as her ribs sent white-hot agony through her torso. We're alive. Down here. Save your strength, Dante said. They'll find us. They have heat sensors, listening equipment. They'll. A gunshot cracked through the darkness. Everyone went silent. Did you hear that? Minisio whispered. Another shot. Closer this time. Then Sujin's voice, ragged but alive. I know you're in here. All of you. And we're going to have a little chat before the rescuers dig us out. Ji-won's blood ran cold. Sujin had survived. Of course she had. Women like her always survived. I have to admit, Sujin continued, her voice echoing strangely in the collapsed space. I didn't expect you to throw the detonator, Ji-won. Bold move. Stupid, but bold. You could have killed us all. That was the point, Ji-won called back, trying to pinpoint her location by sound. Was it? Or were you hoping it would go off in my hand, kill just me, and leave you as the hero who stopped the big bad villain? Sujin laughed. Either way, it didn't work. The detonator's broken. The explosives are still live though. Still wired. Still ready to go. You're bluffing, Dante said. Am I? The sound of something scraping against concrete. I have the backup trigger right here. Remote control. One button. We all die instantly. A pause. Unless someone gives me a reason not to push it. Ji-won's mind raced. The rescue workers. They'll hear the explosion. They'll know. They'll know there was a secondary collapse. Happens all the time in situations like this. They'll be more careful, dig slower. And by the time they reach us, we'll all be corpses buried in rubble. Sujin's voice was getting closer. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can still make a deal. What kind of deal? Minesio asked, her voice tight with suspicion. The same one I offered before. Except now the terms have changed. Here's what's going to happen. When they dig us out, we're going to tell them that Jae-sung planted the explosives. That he was planning to kill everyone and take over the business. That he died in the collapse before he could detonate them. We're all victims. All survivors. All innocent. And you walk away with everything. Dante said flatly. We all walk away, Sujin corrected. With our lives, with our freedom. You, Dante, get to rebuild your empire minus one traitorous brother. Minesio gets to avoid murder charges. I'll destroy the video evidence. Say it was fabricated by Jae-sung to frame her. And Ji-won, her voice softened, you get to live. You get justice, sort of. The man who actually killed your sister is dead. You can move on. Start over. Except I know the truth, Ji-won said. I know you killed my mother. I know you orchestrated everything. Do you have proof? Any evidence at all besides the word of a grief-stricken sister who's clearly been through trauma? Sujin's tone was almost sympathetic. Nobody will believe you. I'm a respected businesswoman. You're, forgive me, nobody. An unemployed server with a vendetta. The words hit like physical blows because they were true. Why? Ji-won's voice cracked. Why did you have to kill them? My mother, Hyun-ji, they were innocent. They didn't deserve. Innocent. Sujin's laugh was sharp. Your mother figured out I was using Hyun-ji. She was going to pull her out, expose my plans. She forced my hand. And Hyun-ji, sweet, naive Hyun-ji, she actually thought she could blackmail me. Called me the night she copied those files, said she knew I was behind everything, said she'd go public unless I paid her. Can you imagine? The mouse trying to blackmail the cat. Ji-won's world stopped. No, Hyun-ji wouldn't. Wouldn't she? She was desperate for money. For her tuition, for your rent, for everything. I promised her payment for the information she gathered, but she got greedy. Wanted more. So I told Jae-sung where she'd be and when. Let him think it was his idea to eliminate her. Sujin's voice was matter of fact, like she was discussing the weather. Your sister wasn't a hero, Ji-won. She was just another person trying to get ahead, willing to play dirty to do it. She just wasn't as good at it as I am. You're lying. But Ji-won's voice wavered. Am I? Check her bank account. The one she kept secret from you. The one with 30 million won that appeared a week before she died. Where do you think that came from? Ji-won couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her entire world, everything she'd built her revenge on, was crumbling. It's not true, she whispered. Hyun-ji wasn't like that. She wasn't. She was human, Dante said quietly. Flawed. Desperate. That doesn't mean she deserved to die. Touching, Sujin said. But we're running out of time. The rescue workers are getting closer. I need an answer. Do we have a deal? We all walk out of here alive. Or I push this button and none of us do. Will Ji-won accept the deal with her family's killer? Can she live with the truth about her sister? Hit subscribe and comment what you would do. No deal, Min Seo said suddenly. I'm not letting you win. I'm not letting you walk away after everything you've done. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Min Seo's voice was fierce, determined. I may be a terrible person. I may have done terrible things. But I'm not going to let you rewrite history. Not going to let you make yourself the victim. When they dig us out, I'm telling them everything. Every crime, every murder, every manipulation. Even if it means I go to prison for the rest of my life. You'll die before you get the chance, Sujin snarled. Maybe, but at least I'll die with a shred of dignity left. Something shifted in the rubble. A voice called down. We hear you. Stay calm. We're almost through. Last chance, Sujin said, and Ji-won could hear the desperation creeping into her voice. Dante, you're a practical man. Convince them. Convince them to take the deal. Silence stretched. Then Dante spoke, his voice rough but clear. My brother is dead. My wife betrayed me. My empire is built on blood and lies. And an innocent girl died because I was too blind to see what was happening in my own house. He paused. If we all die here, maybe that's justice. Maybe that's what we deserve. You're all insane, Sujin hissed. You're choosing death over. We're choosing truth. Ji-won interrupted, finding her voice again. My sister may not have been perfect. She may have made mistakes, gotten in over her head. But she didn't deserve to be murdered. And I won't let her death be covered up, twisted, used as another lie in your game. Her hand found a piece of rebar in the rubble. Sharp, heavy, a weapon if she needed one. So no, Sujin. No deal. Do your worst. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Sujin laughed. High, broken, the sound of someone whose carefully constructed world was falling apart. Fine, she said. You want truth? You want justice? Let me show you what truth and justice look like. The sound of the trigger being pressed echoed through the collapsed space. But nothing happened. No explosion. No blast. Nothing. What? Sujin's voice, confused, panicked. The trigger, it's not working. That's because I deactivated it. Captain Cho's voice came from above, strong and clear. About 5 minutes ago, while you were too busy monologuing to notice, we'd already dug a small access tunnel and disabled your device. Lights suddenly poured in as rescue workers broke through. Ji-won squinted against the brightness, saw figures rappelling down, saw Captain Cho's face, grim but relieved, and saw Sujin, trapped beneath a massive concrete slab, her perfect composure finally shattered, screaming in rage as officers secured her. It's over, Captain Cho said, helping pull Ji-won from the rubble. It's finally over. But as they lifted her out, as she gasped in fresh air and felt the dawn sun on her face, Ji-won heard something that made her blood freeze. Sujin, being loaded onto a stretcher, leaned close as she passed and whispered, "Check your sister's locker at the university. Locker 127. Then you'll know the whole truth. Then you'll understand that this was never over. It's only just beginning." The stretcher was wheeled away before Ji-won could respond. She stood there, covered in blood and dust, ribs screaming, world spinning, as emergency workers tried to examine her. Locker 127. What could possibly be in there that Sujin wanted her to find? What final twist, what last revelation, was waiting? Ji-won pulled away from the paramedics, ignoring their protests, and staggered toward Captain Cho. "I need to go to the university," she said. "Right now? There's something I need to see." Captain Cho studied her face. "Ji-won, you need medical attention. After. This first. Please." Something in her voice must have convinced him. He nodded slowly. "Okay, but I'm coming with you." They drove through Seoul as the city woke up to the first day of the new year. Ji-won barely registered the decorations, the celebrations, the people nursing hangovers and making resolutions. All she could think about was Locker 127. What secrets had Hyunji kept? What truth was Ji-won about to discover? The university was nearly empty, but Captain Cho's badge got them access. They found the locker in the Student Services building. Number 127. Hyunji's name still on the assignment sheet. Ji-won's hands shook as she used the bolt cutters Captain Cho had brought. The lock snapped. The door swung open. Inside was a single envelope, sealed, with Ji-won's name written on it in Hyunji's handwriting, and a date, to be opened in case of my death. Ji-won's vision blurred with tears as she opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter, and a USB drive, and a photograph that made Ji-won's heart stop. Because the photograph showed Hyunji meeting with someone. Not Soo-jin. Someone else. Someone Ji-won knew. Someone who'd been at the restaurant that night. Someone she trusted. And as she read the letter, as the truth finally revealed itself in Hyunji's own words, Ji-won realized that everything, absolutely everything, had been a lie. Who was in the photograph? What does Hyunji's letter reveal? Subscribe now and drop a comment. Because the truth is more shocking than you can possibly imagine. Ji-won opened her eyes to darkness and the taste of blood. For a moment, she thought she was dead. This was what death felt like. Heavy, silent, crushing weight pressing down on every inch of her body. But dead people didn't feel pain, and Ji-won hurt everywhere. Her ribs screamed with each shallow breath. Something warm trickled down the side of her face. Her left arm was pinned beneath something that might have been a beam. Then she heard the coughing. Someone else was alive in the rubble. Hello. Her voice came out as a rasp, barely audible even to herself. Is anyone here? Dante's voice, weak but present. I'm here. Can't move. Something's on my legs. Minesio. Ji-won called. Jae-sung. Silence. Then a groan from somewhere to her right. Jae-sung's dead. Minesio's voice, thick with pain. Beam went through his chest. He's right next to me. His eyes are still open. The detonator. Ji-won had thrown it at Soo-jin, but before it could hit, the ceiling had collapsed. The explosion she'd feared never came. The detonator must have been destroyed in the collapse, or the receiver damaged, or... Where's Soo-jin? Dante asked. I don't know. I can't see anything. Ji-won tried to move, gasped as fresh pain lanced through her ribs. Broken. Definitely broken. We need to get out. The fire. The fire's mostly out, Minesio interrupted. Ceiling collapse smothered it. But we're buried. Nobody's getting out without help. As if summoned by her words, Ji-won heard voices from above. Muffled, distant, but getting closer. Rescue workers. They were digging. Down here. Ji-won screamed, then immediately regretted it as her ribs sent white-hot agony through her torso. We're alive. Down here. Save your strength, Dante said. They'll find us. They have heat sensors, listening equipment. They'll. A gunshot cracked through the darkness. Everyone went silent. Did you hear that? Minesio whispered. Another shot. Closer this time. Then Soo-jin's voice, ragged but alive. I know you're in here. All of you. And we're going to have a little chat before the rescuers dig us out. Ji-won's blood ran cold. Soo-jin had survived. Of course she had. Women like her always survived. I have to admit, Soo-jin continued, her voice echoing strangely in the collapsed space. I didn't expect you to throw the detonator, Ji-won. Bold move. Stupid, but bold. You could have killed us all. That was the point, Ji-won called back, trying to pinpoint her location by sound. Was it? Or were you hoping it would go off in my hand, kill just me, and leave you as the hero who stopped the big bad villain? Soo-jin laughed. Either way, it didn't work. The detonator's broken. The explosives are still live though. Still wired. Still ready to go. You're bluffing, Dante said. Am I? The sound of something scraping against concrete. I have the backup trigger right here. Remote control. One button. We all die instantly. A pause. Unless someone gives me a reason not to push it. Ji-won's mind raced. The rescue workers. They'll hear the explosion. They'll know. They'll know there was a secondary collapse. Happens all the time in situations like this. They'll be more careful, dig slower. And by the time they reach us, we'll all be corpses buried in rubble. Soo-jin's voice was getting closer. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can still make a deal. What kind of deal? Minesio asked, her voice tight with suspicion. The same one I offered before. Except now the terms have changed. Here's what's going to happen. When they dig us out, we're going to tell them that Jae-sung planted the explosives. That he was planning to kill everyone and take over the business. That he died in the collapse before he could detonate them. We're all victims. All survivors. All innocent. And you walk away with everything. Dante said flatly. We all walk away, Sujin corrected. With our lives, with our freedom. You, Dante, get to rebuild your empire minus one traitorous brother. Minasio gets to avoid murder charges. I'll destroy the video evidence. Say it was fabricated by Jae-sung to frame her. And Ji-won, her voice softened, you get to live. You get justice, sort of. The man who actually killed your sister is dead. You can move on. Start over. Except I know the truth, Ji-won said. I know you killed my mother. I know you orchestrated everything. Do you have proof? Any evidence at all besides the word of a grief-stricken sister who's clearly been through trauma? Sujin's tone was almost sympathetic. Nobody will believe you. I'm a respected businesswoman. You're, forgive me, nobody. An unemployed server with a vendetta. The words hit like physical blows because they were true. Why? Ji-won's voice cracked. Why did you have to kill them? My mother, Hyunji, they were innocent. They didn't deserve. Innocent. Sujin's laugh was sharp. Your mother figured out I was using Hyunji. She was going to pull her out, expose my plans. She forced my hand. And Hyunji, sweet, naive Hyunji, she actually thought she could blackmail me. Called me the night she copied those files, said she knew I was behind everything, said she'd go public unless I paid her. Can you imagine? The mouse trying to blackmail the cat. Ji-won's world stopped. No, Hyunji wouldn't. Wouldn't she? She was desperate for money. For her tuition, for your rent, for everything. I promised her payment for the information she gathered, but she got greedy. Wanted more. So I told Jae-sung where she'd be and when. Let him think it was his idea to eliminate her. Sujin's voice was matter of fact, like she was discussing the weather. Your sister wasn't a hero, Ji-won. She was just another person trying to get ahead, willing to play dirty to do it. She just wasn't as good at it as I am. You're lying. But Ji-won's voice wavered. Am I? Check her bank account. The one she kept secret from you. The one with 30 million won that appeared a week before she died. Where do you think that came from? Ji-won couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her entire world, everything she'd built her revenge on, was crumbling. It's not true, she whispered. Hyunji wasn't like that. She wasn't. She was human, Dante said quietly. Flawed. Desperate. That doesn't mean she deserved to die. Touching, Sujin said. But we're running out of time. The rescue workers are getting closer. I need an answer. Do we have a deal? We all walk out of here alive. Or I push this button and none of us do. Will Ji-won accept the deal with her family's killer? Can she live with the truth about her sister? Hit subscribe and comment what you would do. No deal, Minasio said suddenly. I'm not letting you win. I'm not letting you walk away after everything you've done. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Minasio's voice was fierce, determined. I may be a terrible person. I may have done terrible things. But I'm not going to let you rewrite history. Not going to let you make yourself the victim. When they dig us out, I'm telling them everything. Every crime, every murder, every manipulation. Even if it means I go to prison for the rest of my life. You'll die before you get the chance, Sujin snarled. Maybe, but at least I'll die with a shred of dignity left. Something shifted in the rubble. A voice called down. We hear you. Stay calm. We're almost through. Last chance, Sujin said, and Ji-won could hear the desperation creeping into her voice. Dante, you're a practical man. Convince them. Convince them to take the deal. Silence stretched. Then Dante spoke, his voice rough but clear. My brother is dead. My wife betrayed me. My empire is built on blood and lies. And an innocent girl died because I was too blind to see what was happening in my own house. He paused. If we all die here, maybe that's justice. Maybe that's what we deserve. You're all insane, Sujin hissed. You're choosing death over. We're choosing truth. Ji-won interrupted, finding her voice again. My sister may not have been perfect. She may have made mistakes, gotten in over her head. But she didn't deserve to be murdered. And I won't let her death be covered up, twisted, used as another lie in your game. Her hand found a piece of rebar in the rubble. Sharp. Heavy. A weapon if she needed one. So no, Sujin. No deal. Do your worst. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Sujin laughed. High. Broken. The sound of someone whose carefully constructed world was falling apart. Fine, she said. You want truth? You want justice? Let me show you what truth and justice look like. The sound of the trigger being pressed echoed through the collapsed space. But nothing happened. No explosion. No blast. Nothing. What? Sujin's voice, confused, panicked. The trigger, it's not working. That's because I deactivated it. Captain Cho's voice came from above, strong and clear. About 5 minutes ago, while you were too busy monologuing to notice, we'd already dug a small access tunnel and disabled your device. Lights suddenly poured in as rescue workers broke through. G1 squinted against the brightness, saw figures rappelling down, saw Captain Cho's face, grim but relieved, and saw Su-jin, trapped beneath a massive concrete slab, her perfect composure finally shattered, screaming in rage as officers secured her. "It's over," Captain Cho said, helping pull Ji-won from the rubble. "It's finally over." But as they lifted her out, as she gasped in fresh air and felt the dawn sun on her face, Ji-won heard something that made her blood freeze. Su-jin, being loaded onto a stretcher, leaned close as she passed and whispered, "Check your sister's locker at the university. Locker 127. Then you'll know the whole truth. Then you'll understand that this was never over. It's only just beginning." The stretcher was wheeled away before Ji-won could respond. She stood there, covered in blood and dust, ribs screaming, world spinning, as emergency workers tried to examine her. Locker 127. What could possibly be in there that Su-jin wanted her to find? What final twist, what last revelation, was waiting? Ji-won pulled away from the paramedics, ignoring their protests, and staggered toward Captain Cho. "I need to go to the university," she said. "Right now? There's something I need to see." Captain Cho studied her face. "Ji-won, you need medical attention. After. This first. Please." Something in her voice must have convinced him. He nodded slowly. "Okay, but I'm coming with you." They drove through Seoul as the city woke up to the first day of the new year. Ji-won barely registered the decorations, the celebrations, the people nursing hangovers and making resolutions. All she could think about was locker 127. What secrets had Hyunji kept? What truth was Ji-won about to discover? The university was nearly empty, but Captain Cho's badge got them access. They found the locker in the Student Services building. Number 127. Hyunji's name still on the assignment sheet. Ji-won's hands shook as she used the bolt cutters Captain Cho had brought. The lock snapped. The door swung open. Inside was a single envelope, sealed, with Ji-won's name written on it in Hyunji's handwriting, and a date, to be opened in case of my death. Ji-won's vision blurred with tears as she opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a letter, and a USB drive, and a photograph that made Ji-won's heart stop. Because the photograph showed Hyunji meeting with someone. Not Su-jin. Someone else. Someone Ji-won knew. Someone who'd been at the restaurant that night. Someone she trusted. And as she read the letter, as the truth finally revealed itself in Hyunji's own words, Ji-won realized that everything, absolutely everything, had been a lie. Who was in the photograph? What does Hyunji's letter reveal? Subscribe now and drop a comment, because the truth is more shocking than you can possibly imagine. The photograph slipped from Ji-won's fingers, fluttering to the ground like a dying leaf. Captain Cho bent to pick it up, then froze. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. "This can't be right. This is your partner." Ji-won's voice was hollow, dead. "Detective Lee Min-ho. The one who investigated Hyunji's murder 3 years ago. The one who told me there were no leads. No evidence. No hope." In the photograph, Hyunji sat across from Detective Lee at a cafe, a stack of documents between them. The timestamp showed December 28th, 3 years ago. 3 days before she died. Ji-won's hands shook as she unfolded the letter. Hyunji's handwriting swam before her eyes, but she forced herself to focus, to read every word her sister had written. "Dear Ji-won, if you're reading this, I'm dead. And I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was protecting you. Detective Lee Min-ho approached me 6 months ago. Said he was investigating the Park family, building a case against their criminal empire. Said he needed someone on the inside, someone they wouldn't suspect. He offered me money. So much money, Ji-won. Enough to pay off mom's medical bills, enough to cover your tuition, enough to finally breathe. I said yes. God help me, I said yes. He gave me the camera, told me where to plant it, told me to record everything. He said once he had enough evidence, he'd bring them all down. The Parks, their whole organization, everyone. He said we'd be heroes. Protected witnesses. But then I discovered something he didn't expect. The embezzlement, yes. But also something worse. Evidence that Detective Lee himself was on the park payroll. Has been for years. He wasn't building a case against them. He was helping them cover their tracks and using me to identify loose ends that needed to be eliminated. I confronted him. Told him I knew. Told him I'd copied everything. Not just evidence against the parks, but evidence against him. His bank records. His communications. Everything. He smiled, G1. He actually smiled and said, "Thank you for making this easy." I realized then that I'd been set up. Used. That he'd played me from the beginning. So I ran. Copied everything to multiple drives. Hid them in different locations. This USB drive contains it all. Everything needed to bring down Detective Lee and expose his connection to the parks. I'm meeting with someone tonight who promised to help. Someone with power. Someone who can protect us. I'm scared, but I have to try. For us. For our future. If something happens to me, take this to the media. To international authorities. Anyone but the Seoul police. They're compromised, G1. Detective Lee isn't the only one on the park payroll. I love you, little sister. I'm sorry I dragged you into this nightmare. Stay alive. And don't trust anyone in uniform. Hyunji. The letter fell from G1's numb fingers. Captain Cho was already on his phone, his face a mask of fury and betrayal. I need eyes on Detective Lee Minho immediately. Consider him armed and dangerous. Possible homicide suspect. He paused, listened, then his face went even paler. What do you mean he's not at home? When did he leave? Find him. Now. He ended the call and turned to Ji-won, his eyes haunted. Minho's been my partner for 8 years. Saved my life twice. I trusted him with everything. His voice broke. How did I not see it? Because he was good at hiding it. Ji-won picked up the USB drive with trembling hands. We need to see what's on this. We need. The lights in the building went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in sickly red. Captain Cho's hand went to his gun immediately. That's not a power outage. Someone cut the main. A gunshot shattered the silence, the bullet embedding itself in the wall inches from Ji-won's head. Run! Captain Cho shoved her toward the exit, returning fire into the darkness. Go! Get out of the building. Ji-won ran, clutching the USB drive like a lifeline, her broken ribs screaming protest with every step. Behind her, more gunfire. Captain Cho shouting. The sound of bodies hitting the floor. She burst through the stairwell door and practically fell down the stairs, taking them 2 at a time, her vision blurring from pain and fear. Had to get out. Had to survive. Had to make sure the evidence reached someone who could use it. She hit the ground floor and sprinted for the exit. And ran straight into Detective Lee Minho. He looked exactly as she remembered from 3 years ago. Kind face, gentle eyes, the soft-spoken detective who'd held her hand at the station and promised to find her sister's killer. The man who'd looked her in the eye and lied with such sincerity that she'd never doubted him. Hello, Ji-won, he said softly. I was hoping we wouldn't have to do this. She tried to run, but he was faster. His hand shot out, gripping her injured arm, sending white-hot agony through her body. She screamed, dropping to her knees. The USB drive, he said calmly. Give it to me, and I'll make this quick. Painless. You'll just go to sleep and never wake up. Fight me, and he squeezed her arm harder, grinding broken bone against broken bone. Well, let's just say Hyunji's death will look merciful by comparison. Why? Ji-won gasped through the pain. Why did you kill her? She trusted you. That's exactly why. Detective Lee's gentle smile never wavered. She trusted me completely. Told me everything. Where she'd hidden the evidence. Who else knew? What her plans were. Made it very easy to eliminate her and tie up loose ends. But why work for them? You're a cop. You're supposed to. Supposed to what? Live on a pathetic salary while criminals like the Parks live in mansions. His laugh was bitter. I spent 20 years of my life putting bad people in prison. 20 years watching justice fail. Watching the powerful walk free. Watching the system protect those who could afford protection. So I decided if I couldn't beat them, I'd join them. And you know what? I sleep better now than I ever did playing hero. Will Ji-won escape Detective Lee? Is Captain Cho still alive? Hit that subscribe button and comment your prediction. You're a monster, Ji-won said. I'm a realist. He pulled out a syringe from his jacket. This will stop your heart in about 30 seconds. They'll find you tomorrow. Assume you collapsed from injuries sustained in the fire. No one will question it. Another tragic casualty of the Park family war. He moved the needle toward her neck. Ji-won's hand, still clutching the USB drive, swung up in a desperate arc. The sharp edge of the drive caught Detective Lee across the face, opening a gash from eyebrow to jaw. He stumbled back, cursing, and Ji-won used the moment to roll away. Staggering to her feet, she ran again, burst through the exit into the cold morning air, into a campus courtyard, where early risers were starting to appear. Witnesses. Safety in numbers. Detective Lee emerged behind her, one hand pressed to his bleeding face, the other holding his gun. But he couldn't shoot. Not here. Not with witnesses. This isn't over, he called after her. You can run, but I know where you live. I know your friends. I know every place you might hide. And when I find you, and I will find you, you'll die knowing. It was all for nothing. Ji-won kept running until she couldn't anymore. Until her lungs were on fire and her ribs felt like they were stabbing her from the inside. She collapsed behind a building, gasping, tears streaming down her face. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw what happened. I can help. Meet me at Hyunji's grave. 1 hour. Come alone or people will die. A friend. A trap. Obviously a trap. But what choice did she have? She pulled herself upright, wiped her face, and started walking toward the cemetery where Hyunji was buried. The USB drive felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in her pocket. Evidence that could bring down a corrupt detective, expose the Park family's entire operation, and finally give her sister justice, if she lived long enough to use it. The cemetery was quiet, peaceful, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past 12 hours. Ji-won found Hyunji's grave easily. She'd been here 100 times. Left flowers, talked to a sister who couldn't answer. I'm so sorry, she whispered to the headstone. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I'm so sorry I failed you. You didn't fail her. Ji-won spun around. A woman stood behind her, dressed in black, her face partially hidden by a wide-brimmed hat. She was young, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a small, sad smile. Who are you? Ji-won demanded. The woman removed her hat, and Ji-won's breath caught. Because the face looking back at her was impossible. The face was Hyunji's. Older, harder, scarred along one cheek. But unmistakably, impossibly, Hyunji's face. Hello, little sister, the woman said. I think we need to talk. Ji-won's legs gave out. She would have fallen if the woman, if Hyunji, if this impossible ghost, hadn't caught her. You're dead, Ji-won whispered. I identified your body. I buried you. You're dead. I was supposed to be. Hyunji, because it was her, it was really her. Ji-won could see it now in her eyes. Her smile, the way she held her head, helped Ji-won sit on a nearby bench. The woman you buried was a Jane Doe from the morgue. Same height, same build, face destroyed beyond recognition. Detective Lee arranged it. Thought he'd killed me, but she touched the scar on her cheek. I survived. Barely. Woke up in a black market clinic 3 days later with no memory of how I got there. 3 years, Ji-won's voice broke. I mourned you for 3 years. I built my entire life around avenging you. And you were alive. I didn't know how to find you. Didn't know who to trust. Everyone I'd worked with was either dead or trying to kill me. So I disappeared. Changed my name. My face, as much as I could without major surgery. Spent 3 years gathering evidence, building a case, waiting for the right moment to strike. Hyunji's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I watched you from afar. Watched you infiltrate the restaurant. Watched you plan your revenge. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I couldn't risk it. Couldn't risk them finding you through me. The letter in the locker. I wrote it before that night. Before everything went wrong. I never got a chance to mail it. So I left it there, hoping somehow, someday, you'd find it. Hyunji gripped Ji-won's hands. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything I put you through. Ji-won pulled her hands away, stood up, backed away. No. This is another trick. Another lie. Soo-jin, Detective Lee, someone, this is just another manipulation. It's not. Hyunji pulled down her collar, revealing a birthmark on her collarbone. The same birthmark Ji-won had. Their mother's birthmark, passed down genetically. It's really me, Ji-won. I'm really alive. The world tilted. 3 years of grief, rage, revenge, all based on a death that never happened. Why now? Ji-won demanded. Why reveal yourself now? Because Detective Lee is coming. And he's not coming alone. He's called in every dirty cop, every Park family soldier, everyone who has something to lose if that USB drive goes public. Hyunji's face was grim. There's an army coming for us, little sister. And we have maybe. She checked her watch. 20 minutes before they arrive. So we need to move. Now. Move where? Somewhere I've been preparing for 3 years. Somewhere we can finally end this. Hyunji held out her hand. Do you trust me? Ji-won looked at that outstretched hand. At the sister she'd thought was dead. At the stranger she'd become. And behind them, she heard the sound of multiple vehicles pulling into the cemetery parking lot. Car doors slamming. Weapons being loaded. They were out of time. Is Hyunji really alive, or is this an elaborate trap? Will the sisters escape? Subscribe and comment now. The final showdown is about to begin. Ji-won grabbed her sister's hand. They ran through the cemetery, weaving between headstones, as gunfire erupted behind them. Bullets chipped stone angels, shattered marble crosses. Ji-won's broken ribs screamed with each pounding step, but adrenaline pushed her forward. This way, Hyunji yanked her toward the old maintenance building at the edge of the cemetery grounds. There's a tunnel, built during the war, leads to the subway system. The building's door hung on broken hinges. They plunged into darkness, Hyunji pulling out a flashlight that illuminated a narrow staircase descending into the earth. Behind them, Detective Lee's voice echoed. Seal the exits. I want them alive if possible, dead if necessary. The sisters flew down the stairs, their footsteps echoing off ancient concrete walls. The tunnel at the bottom was cramped, dank, smelling of mold and forgotten history. Water dripped from cracks in the ceiling. How did you find this place? Ji-won gasped. I've been planning for this day for 3 years. Hyunji's flashlight beam bounced ahead of them. I knew eventually it would come down to a final confrontation. I just didn't expect it to be today. Where's Captain Cho? Did Detective Lee? He's alive. I have people getting him medical attention. Hyunji glanced back. You didn't think I was working alone, did you? Before Ji-won could ask what that meant, they burst out of the tunnel into an abandoned subway station. Ancient platforms, rusted tracks, graffiti-covered walls. But it wasn't empty. A dozen people stood waiting, all armed, all watching the tunnel entrance with professional alertness. Ji-won recognized some of them. The fire chief from the Park estate, one of the paramedics from tonight, several people she'd seen around the restaurant over the years. You've been building an army, Ji-won whispered. A network, Hyunji corrected. People who've been hurt by the parks, by Detective Lee's corruption, by a system that protects the powerful and crushes everyone else. We've all been waiting for the right moment to strike back. A woman stepped forward, middle-aged, fierce-eyed, wearing tactical gear. They're right behind you. At least 20 armed hostiles, including Detective Lee and several Park family enforcers. We're outnumbered, but not outgunned. Hyunji moved to a weapons cache hidden behind a collapsed section of wall. And we have something they don't. The moral high ground and a really good escape plan. Escape plan. Ji-won's voice cracked. We're trapped down here. Not trapped. Strategic. Hyunji handed Ji-won a bulletproof vest. Put this on. And this. She pressed a small device into Ji-won's palm. That's a live transmission feed. Everything that happens down here is being broadcast to every major news outlet in Korea, Asia, and internationally. The USB drive's contents have already been uploaded. As of 5 minutes ago, the whole world knows about Detective Lee's corruption and the Park family's crimes. Ji-won stared at the device. You've already won. Why are we still here? Because broadcasting evidence isn't enough. These people, Hyunji gestured toward the tunnel where footsteps and voices were growing louder. They have money, power, lawyers who can tie up prosecutions for decades. We need confessions. Proof that can't be explained away or buried by expensive legal teams. So we're bait. We're witnesses. Hyunji checked her weapon. And we're going to make them confess to everything on live television. The first figure emerged from the tunnel. Detective Lee, his face a mask of blood and rage. He stepped onto the platform, gun raised, and froze when he saw the setup. The cameras. The armed civilians. The trap closing around him. This is being broadcast. His voice was tight, controlled. You're streaming this? Live to 50 million viewers and counting, Hyunji confirmed. Hello, Detective Lee. Or should I say, hello to the murderer who's been hiding behind a badge for 20 years. You. Detective Lee's face went white. You're supposed to be dead. I killed you. I watched you bleed out. You watched someone bleed out. You were too arrogant to confirm the kill. Hyunji's smile was sharp as broken glass. Big mistake. More figures emerged from the tunnel. Park family soldiers, corrupt cops, all stopping short when they realized they'd walked into an ambush. Last came Dante Park himself, looking like death warmed over, his shoulder heavily bandaged, his face gray with pain and rage. This ends now, Dante said, his voice carrying across the abandoned station. All of it. The lies, the killing, the corruption. It ends. You're going to lecture us about corruption? Detective Lee laughed bitterly. You built your empire on blood money and human trafficking. Don't act like you're suddenly a saint. I'm not. Dante's admission echoed in the confined space. I'm a criminal. I've done terrible things. Hurt innocent people. Destroyed lives. His eyes found Ji-won. I covered up your sister's murder because I was a coward who'd rather protect my empire than face the truth about my family. I deserve to go to prison. What confession will Detective Lee make? Will anyone survive this final showdown? Smash that subscribe button and comment your prediction. You think confessing on camera makes you noble? Detective Lee spat. It makes you stupid. Without protection, without your lawyers, you're just another criminal heading to a cell. Maybe that's justice. Dante turned to face the cameras directly. My name is Dante Park. I'm the head of the Park Criminal Organization. For 15 years, I've been involved in money laundering, illegal gambling, protection rackets, and various other crimes. I bribed officials, including Detective Lee Min-ho, who's been on my payroll since 2019. I knowingly covered up the murder of Park Hyunji because I believed it protected my family. I was wrong. The platform was silent except for the drip of water and the hum of cameras. Then Detective Lee laughed. High, broken, the sound of a man watching his world collapse. Fine. You want confessions? I'll give you confessions. He looked directly into the nearest camera. My name is Detective Lee Min-ho, Seoul Metropolitan Police. I've been taking bribes from the Park family for 6 years. I've covered up murders, destroyed evidence, and killed 3 people myself, including attempting to kill Park Hyunji 3 years ago. His smile was vicious. But here's what none of you understand. I'm not the only one. There are dozens of us. Judges, prosecutors, police chiefs. The corruption goes all the way to the top. You think broadcasting this changes anything? We'll have lawyers and politicians working to bury this before the sun sets. We'll discredit these recordings, claim they're deep fakes, tie everything up in legal proceedings for years. And in the end, he raised his gun, pointing it at Hyunji. All you've accomplished is painting targets on your backs. Maybe, Hyunji said calmly. But we're not just broadcasting to Korea. The lights in the abandoned station suddenly blazed to life. Figures appeared on all the platforms. Not more Park family thugs, but men and women in FBI windbreakers, Interpol insignia, international law enforcement. What? Detective Lee spun, his gun moving between targets he couldn't hope to shoot. A woman in an FBI jacket stepped forward. Detective Lee Min-ho, you're under arrest for murder, corruption, and crimes against international law. The Park family's operations have connections to human trafficking networks across 6 countries. This is now an international investigation. Korean lawyers won't help you here. The evidence from the USB drive has been verified, another agent added. Bank records showing payments from Park family accounts to 17 different law enforcement officials. We have names, dates, amounts. It's over. Detective Lee's gun hand trembled. For a moment, Ji-won thought he might shoot anyway. Take Hyunji down even if it cost him his life. Then he lowered the weapon, let it clatter to the concrete, sank to his knees with his hands behind his head. It's not over, he said quietly, his eyes finding Ji-won. You think this is justice? You think arresting a few corrupt cops changes the system? There will be others. There will always be others. The powerful will always find ways to escape consequences. Maybe, Ji-won said, stepping forward despite her pain, despite her fear. But not today. Today, you pay for what you did to my sister. Today, the truth wins. Your sister. Detective Lee's laugh was bitter. Poor, naive Hyunji. She really thought she could be a hero. Thought she could expose corruption and walk away clean. She didn't understand that there are no heroes in this world. Just survivors and corpses. She survived, Hyunji said, moving to stand beside Ji-won. She survived because she was stronger than you gave her credit for. Smarter. More determined. You underestimated her. Big mistake. Agents moved in, securing Detective Lee and the other suspects. Dante surrendered without resistance, his face resigned to whatever came next. The corrupt cops were handcuffed one by one, their weapons confiscated, their careers and lives effectively over. G1 watched it all through a haze of exhaustion and pain. It should have felt like victory, should have felt like justice. But all she felt was hollow. It's done, Hyunji said softly, wrapping an arm around G1's shoulders, carefully, mindful of her injuries. It's finally done. Is it? G1's voice was barely a whisper. Detective Lee was right about one thing. The system is broken. We took down some corrupt people, but there are others. There will always be others. So we keep fighting. We keep exposing the truth. We keep demanding better. Hyunji turned G1 to face her. You spent 3 years thinking I was dead, planning revenge, destroying yourself for justice. But I'm alive, G1. I'm right here. And we have a chance to actually live now. To be sisters again. To build something good from all this horror. Tears streamed down G1's face. I don't know how. I don't know how to be anything except angry anymore. Then we'll figure it out together. An FBI agent approached. We need statements from both of you. Full debriefing. This investigation is going to take months, possibly years. You'll need to testify, possibly multiple times. We'll do whatever's necessary, Hyunji said. The agent nodded and walked away. Hyunji led G1 toward the exit, where ambulances were waiting to treat her injuries. But as they climbed the stairs back to ground level, back to daylight and the living world, G1 heard something that made her stop. Her phone, buzzing with a text message. From Sujin's number. Her blood ran cold as she opened it. Congratulations on your victory. But you might want to check the news. The Park family estate. The fire you thought destroyed everything? We found something in the ruins. Something that changes everything. Check the attachments. SS. G1's hands shook as she opened the attached image. It was a photograph. From the estate's basement. A hidden room the fire hadn't reached. And inside that room were files. Hundreds of files. Photographs. Documents. Files labeled with names G1 recognized. Politicians. Business leaders. Law enforcement officials from around the world. And at the center of it all, a photograph that made her stomach drop. Her mother. Young. Maybe 20 years old. Standing with a man G1 had never seen before. Both of them wearing police uniforms. Both of them looking at the camera with cold, professional eyes. The message continued. Your mother wasn't a victim, G1. She was one of us. One of the corrupt ones. And the secrets she kept? They're about to destroy everything you think you know. See you soon. This game isn't over. It's just beginning. SS. The phone slipped from G1's nerveless fingers. Hyunji caught it, read the message, went pale. No, Hyunji whispered. That's not possible. She was good. She was. I need to see those files, G1 said, her voice hollow. I need to know the truth. G1, you've been through enough. I need to know. Her scream echoed off the tunnel walls. If everything I believed about Mom is a lie, if she was part of this corruption, then what was any of this for? What did we accomplish? Hyunji pulled her into a fierce hug. We survived. We exposed the truth. We got justice. Whatever else we find, we'll face it together. But as they emerged into daylight, as the sun rose on a new year and a new beginning, Jaewon couldn't shake the feeling that Sujin was right. The game wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Is their mother's past about to unravel everything? What other secrets are hidden in those files? Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment, because this story is far from over. 3 weeks later, Ji-won stood in front of the mirror, barely recognizing herself. The bruises had faded to yellow-green shadows. Her broken ribs were healing, though they still ached when she breathed too deeply. The physical wounds were mending, but the scars inside, those felt permanent, carved into her soul like names on a tombstone. You ready? Hyunji appeared in the doorway, dressed in a simple black suit. She looked older than 27, hardened by 3 years of hiding and surviving. But when she smiled at Ji-won, some of that old warmth broke through. The press conference starts in an hour. Ji-won nodded, smoothing down her own suit, borrowed from Hyunji, slightly too long in the sleeves. I'm ready. But she wasn't. Not really. The past 3 weeks had been a whirlwind of revelations. each one more devastating than the last. The files Sujin had sent them to, the ones found in the Park Estate's hidden basement, had painted a picture of corruption so deep, so systemic, that it made Ji-won's 3-year quest for revenge look like child's play. Her mother had been part of it. Not a victim, not collateral damage. An active participant. 25 years ago, their mother, Officer Park Young-mi, had been one of the first police officers recruited into what would become the Park family's network of corruption. She'd helped them build their empire, protected their operations, eliminated threats. Until she'd tried to get out. The report confirmed it. Hyunji said quietly, reading Ji-won's thoughts the way she always had. Mom tried to leave the network 15 years ago, when I was born. She wanted a clean life for us. That's when they started threatening her, controlling her. She wasn't innocent, but she tried to be better. For us. It doesn't make it okay, Ji-won said. No, but it makes it human. Hyunji moved to stand beside her sister, their reflections side by side in the mirror. People make mistakes. Sometimes terrible ones. But that doesn't mean they can't try to change. Can't try to protect the people they love. Is that why you're defending her? Ji-won's voice came out harsher than she intended. Because you want to believe people can change? That redemption is possible. I'm defending her because she's our mother. And because I watched you destroy yourself for 3 years trying to avenge me when I wasn't even dead. Hyunji's eyes were fierce in the mirror. If I can forgive you for that, for the violence, the obsession, the way you turned yourself into someone I barely recognized, then maybe we can find a way to forgive Mom too. Ji-won's throat tightened. I thought I was doing the right thing. So did she. Hyunji squeezed her shoulder gently. That's the thing about revenge, about justice. The line between them gets blurry. We all think we're the heroes of our own stories. Even the people who do terrible things. A knock at the door interrupted them. Captain Cho entered, looking better than he had 3 weeks ago when Detective Lee's bullet had grazed his temple. He'd spent 2 days in the hospital before checking himself out to help with the investigation. The International Task Force just released their preliminary findings, he said, holding up a tablet. 17 law enforcement officials arrested across 6 countries. The Park family's entire operation is being dismantled. Asset seizures, property confiscations, they're taking it all down. And Sujin? Ji-won asked. Captain Cho's face darkened. Still in custody. Her lawyers are trying to get the charges reduced, but with the evidence we have, including her confession about your mother's death, she's looking at life in prison. She'll find a way out, Ji-won said bitterly. People like her always do. Maybe, but not today. Not while the world is watching. Captain Cho set down the tablet. You two did something remarkable. You exposed corruption that's been festering for decades. You gave victims a voice. That matters. Does it? Ji-won turned from the mirror. Detective Lee was right. We took down some corrupt people, but the system that created them is still there. In 5 years, 10 years, there will be new Detective Lees. New Park families. New Sujins. Probably, Captain Cho admitted. But there will also be people like you. People who refuse to accept corruption as inevitable. People who fight back. He smiled slightly. The International Task Force asked if you two would consider consulting on future cases. Your expertise in infiltration, investigation. They think you could help take down other criminal networks. Hyunji and Ji-won exchanged glances. We'll think about it, Hyunji said. The press conference was held at Seoul City Hall, a massive room packed with journalists from around the world. Cameras flashed like lightning as Ji-won and Hyunji took their seats at the long table, flanked by FBI agents, Interpol officials, and Korean prosecutors. Ji-won's hands trembled as she adjusted her microphone. Beside her, Hyunji was perfectly composed, her face a mask of professional calm. But Ji-won could see the tension in her sister's shoulders, the way her fingers gripped the table's edge. A prosecutor stood, addressed the room in Korean, then English. 3 weeks ago, 2 brave women exposed a corruption network that spanned multiple countries and decades. Today, we're here to share the results of our investigation and to answer questions about the ongoing prosecutions. The questions came fast and brutal. Ms. Park Ji-won, you spent 3 years planning revenge against people you believed killed your sister. How do you feel now, knowing she was alive the whole time? Ji-won's voice was steady when she answered, relieved, angry, grateful, all of it at once. I wasted 3 years of my life on hatred when I could have been living. But I also exposed corruption that needed to be exposed. So I don't know if I regret it. I don't know if I can. Ms. Park Hyunji, why did you stay hidden for 3 years? Why not reveal yourself sooner? Hyunji leaned into her microphone. Because I was terrified. Because everyone I trusted had either betrayed me or died. Because I needed to be certain, absolutely certain, that when I resurfaced, I had enough evidence to take them all down. Otherwise, I'd just be another victim they could silence. What would you have done in their situation? Hit subscribe and comment your thoughts. More questions, more answers. The press conference lasted 2 hours, every minute feeling like an eternity. But finally, it was over. The sisters stood, nodded to the officials, and walked out of the building into the cold January afternoon. What now? Ji-won asked as they stood on the steps, watching Seoul bustle below them. The city looked the same as it always had, indifferent to their pain, their victory, their existence. Now we figure out how to live, Hyunji said. Actually live, not just survive. Not just fight. I don't know how to do that anymore. Neither do I. Hyunji took her hand. But we'll learn together. We'll make mistakes. We'll probably screw it up a dozen times. But we're alive, Ji-won. We're both alive. That's more than we had any right to expect. They started down the steps together, past the cameras and reporters still clamoring for statements. Ji-won's phone buzzed, a message from the university offering to reinstate her scholarship. Another from a publishing house, offering a book deal for her story. A third from a victims advocacy group, asking if she'd speak at their next event. The world wanted to turn her into a symbol, a hero, a cautionary tale. But all Ji-won wanted was to be human again. They walked for hours through Seoul, neither of them speaking much, just existing in each other's presence. Eventually, they found themselves at the Han River, watching the sun set over the water, painting everything gold and red. I kept thinking about this place, Hyunji said quietly. When I was hiding, when I thought I'd never see you again. I'd remember us coming here with Mom, eating ramen from the convenience store, watching the boats go by. Before everything went wrong, Ji-won added. Yeah, before. Hyunji was quiet for a moment. But maybe it's not too late to have moments like that again. Different, but still good. Still worth living for. Maybe. Ji-won watched a boat drift past, its lights reflecting on the dark water. Hyunji. Yeah. I'm glad you're alive. Even with everything that happened, all the lies and pain and horror, I'm so glad you're alive. Me too. Hyunji pulled her into a hug, and this time Ji-won didn't pull away. Me too, little sister. They stood there as the sun sank below the horizon, two sisters who'd survived hell and somehow found their way back to each other. The city lights began to twinkle on around them, a million small hopes in the darkness. It wasn't a perfect ending. Soo-jin was still alive, still plotting from her prison cell. The corrupt system that had enabled so much suffering was still largely intact. Their mother's legacy was complicated, tainted, impossible to fully reconcile. But they were alive. They were together. And for the first time in 3 years, Ji-won felt something other than rage and grief. She felt hope. Come on, Hyunji said, releasing the hug. There's a ramen place around the corner. My treat. Your treat? You've been dead for 3 years. You don't have any money. Details. Hyunji grinned, that old, mischievous grin that Ji-won had thought she'd never see again. I'll steal your wallet like old times. Try it, and I'll arrest you myself. They walked away from the river, bickering and laughing, two sisters starting over in a world that had tried its best to destroy them. Behind them, a figure watched from the shadows. A woman in a dark coat, her face hidden, her phone pressed to her ear. They're together, she said quietly in flawless English. Both sisters, just as you predicted. A voice crackled through the phone, cultured, amused, familiar. Excellent. Let them have their moment of peace. They've earned it. But keep watching. The game is far from over. We have new moves to make. New pieces to position. And if they discover the truth? About who really orchestrated everything. About the person who's been pulling strings from the beginning. A pause. Then a laugh, cold as winter wind. Then we'll do what we've always done. Adapt. Survive. Win. After all, the voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried more menace than any shout. They think the corruption ended with Detective Lee and the Parks. They have no idea how deep this really goes. No idea who they've really been working for all along. Should I? No. Let them rest. Let them believe they've won. It will make the next revelation so much more devastating. Another laugh. Happy New Year, ladies. Enjoy your victory. While it lasts. The call ended. The figure in the shadows pocketed her phone, took one last look at the sisters disappearing into the soul night, and smiled. Then she too melted into the darkness, leaving only questions behind. Questions like, who was on the phone? What did they mean by new moves to make? And most terrifying of all, if Detective Lee and the Park family weren't the real masterminds behind everything, then who was? The answers would come, but not tonight. Tonight, two sisters ate ramen by the river and pretended that the nightmare was finally over. Tomorrow would bring new truths, new dangers, new revelations that would shake everything they'd fought for. But that was tomorrow, and tomorrow could wait. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this journey of revenge, redemption, and sisterhood, click the subscribe button. The next story is even more twisted and you won't want to miss it. Click on the video showing on your screen right now to watch what happens when the past refuses to stay buried. And one last time, drop a comment telling us where you watched this from and what you thought of the ending. Did Ji-won and Hyunji truly win? Or is the real game just beginning? See you in the next story.